like sometimes if they're drilling a lot of wells, they've actually got geosteering teams. So so that's just again for me from when I'm targeting people and stuff like that. Do they have a team or not? That type of thing. So some of the benefits that came up: better well placement. So a major advantage mentioned is improved well placement with enhanced reservoir contact and overall drilling efficiency. So that when we look at that, that's compared to using core samples, spreadsheets, strip logs, and gamma data.
Yeah, that's right.
Right,
And then
right,
the benefits of this software is we have that team collaboration with the
right,
cloud,
right,
so that all the information or all the data you want to see, they just have to log in the software
right.
and go onto the cloud and be able to see that data, see the samples, see the descriptions, and make that decision without having to wait for emails or data transfers being sent out to the office. So they get to see it live right away. They just log in and they can make that decision right
Collaborative.
away on the spot.
Right. And then some of the terminologies again, it just helps, when I'm doing stuff. So the word trip outs, and I get the concept behind it. Is that an industry standard term?
Yeah, trip out. You're basically pulling out of the hole to change a bit, or you've TD'd and you're tripping out of the hole to start running casing. Tripping out is essentially coming back out of hole
Right, right,
with the
right,
pipes for any sort of reason.
right. And
And then the
geosteering helps reduce those.
geosteering helps reduce those by allowing it to stay in the preferred zone,
Right, right,
so it doesn't eat up your bits.
right,
It allows you to do continuous drilling in zones you want to be in.
right. Side tracking, is that a an industry standard term?
Yes,
Yeah,
and sidetracking refers to you drill a main well
yeah,
and you pull back to a certain depth that's been picked, and you start creating another hole from the main hole. You branch off to create a sidetrack.
right, right,
So
right,
you sidetrack off the main branch, you pull back again, sidetrack into another, depending on what your well plan is saying. You can do nowadays. There's things called like fishbone wells, whereas it could be like up to 20, 25 different holes within one main branch.
right, right. Right. Okay. And then cost. The software helps minimize drilling inefficiencies such as excessive sliding or unnecessarily directional corrections. So excessive sliding and unnecessary directional connections, is that different than trip outs and sidetracking?
Yes.
They are. Okay. Yeah.
And yes,
Yeah.
sliding is when it's literally you're using just the bit head, the motor,
Right.
to orient the well, to direct the well in a certain direction you want to go to.
Right.
And unnecessary corrections is when a depth is changed, when I don't know how to explain it. You have to correct your depth depending on your pipe stand. It doesn't
Right.
happen that often,
Right. Right.
but it happens once in a while.
Once in a while. Okay.
But it's mostly the sliding. You don't want to do too many slides because
Right. Right.
sliding takes quite a bit of time to in the field, especially when you come out of zone and you want to get back in zone. Say you drill out of like cap rock,
Yeah.
sliding through cap rock again takes a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
So out of that, so trip out, side tracking, sliding, directional corrections. What happens the most?
Uh, Well, probably sliding,
Okay,
depending on how well you can geosteer it.
right,
It'll be sliding for direction.
right, right,
Because
and
azimuthal and inclination wise, you want to be in a certain area, certain window, as we call it.
right, right, right. Okay, so so just I just have it. Star steer. Like, do you think your software and Star steer would be equal to each other as it relates to sliding?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah,
Both softwares allow for reduction of sliding.
right,
Basically, it's informing you where you are to prevent you from coming out of zone,
right, right,
right? And
right,
if you can do, and if you can keep your well bore straight, you do the least amount of slides,
right.
right?
Okay,
And again, it's something that's sometimes is unavoidable.
right,
Sometimes the well path does get take knocks,
Yeah.
And when it gets knocked up and down, you have to slide. You have no choice to
Okay.
get back into your well plan.
Okay. And then so the ability to visualize multiple scenarios quickly for real time decision making. So your software allows for multiple scenarios, correct?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what that actually means is using your gamma, you can predict your your formation's inclination. It's dip. Where is it going up? On what angle is it going up at? Is it going down? What angle it's coming down? So it allows you to make that decision to allow us to tell DD, hey, or we're going to be the formation is going to be climbing at 90.8.
Right.
So let's try to slide and get it up to 90.8 so that we can just rotate through it, kind of thing. So
Right.
if you do that ahead of time, then you're staying in zone and allows you to drill right where you want to be throughout it, right?
Right. Right. Okay. So got it. So, and then one precision in drilling. Some respondents noted that geosteering software enables them to target the best drilling intervals within a very narrow window. So, again, does that just related to what you just kind of explained there, is being able to make adjustments?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. To make adjustments, and then when you're getting live data, you correlate your data to make those decisions, right?
Right. Right. Okay, and then some of the drawbacks, challenges, interpretation errors, even with software, human interpretation errors still occur. This is why multiple interpretations are often needed. So, again, with your software, do you do anything special to try and reduce errors or anything like that? And is that something that you
And
that's
interpretation error comes to yes, ours allows us to reduce it by making the workflow a lot simpler for
right,
people.
right,
But again, at the end of the day, even though if it's simple, it also comes to the experience level of the geologist using it or the
right,
user themselves.
right, right,
If depending on how high their skill level is and how well they understand the data sets as well.
right. And then older software. So we're not going to worry about that too much, but it's cumbersome. But the newer ones, it looks like the scenarios. So scenarios is a fairly consistent theme. Would you say that
Yeah.
that is pretty? Is that a pretty prominent feature in geosteering software? Is the multiple scenarios?
Yeah, it definitely can be. And the scenarios is more like where's the sweet spot of your zone? So you're in zone, but
Right,
what is the sweet spot? So you can get one scenario that's higher up, one scenario maybe a little lower down, and also scenarios of what is the inclination of it? Go is it is it 90.5 or is it 89.5? So those kinds of scenarios will come up, and with the data sets again and the ability of the interpreter, you can make those decisions quite well. Like it has been done. We have drilled them. Again, we are experienced with it, so
right.
better decision making.
Right. Okay. And then some smaller companies particularly in Alberta, are reluctant to adopt geosteering software. So we see that with small companies, believing they can achieve comparable results without it. So if we do look at the scenario up here where people are using traditional methods, spreadsheets, strip logs, live gamma data, do you think that they can achieve the same results as geosteering software is? If let's
No,
just say
they
we
can't.
had one well, or like so if we look at it, we say we got a guy drilling one well a quarter. So because
Yeah,
we've got that we got a market segment that's they drill 0 to 5 1 to 5 wells in a year.
yeah,
So those guys are going to be reluctant to spend the money because they because they're not under the same pressure of drilling a lot of wells, right?
yeah.
So
See, when it comes to that money and they're drilling, we also do to help clients like that. We also do well based, which is day charges,
right,
and day charges when they're spending millions. Our day charges are nothing. So about I think don't quote me on this. I think it's about $100 to $150 a day to use the software,
right,
and usually they last about a week, 2 weeks or something.
right,
And the cost of that is nothing when they increase their production by quite a bit.
right, right.
And
Okay,
during that 1 week of time, it alleviates a number of hours spent on trying to interpret the old method and trying to get information out to the office from the field.
Right.
It streamlines their drilling program within that short time. So
Right.
our license is a fully 1 year. We
Okay.
work with clients
Okay.
uh, to allow them to have the software just for one well, for example,
Okay.
to do one well a year. Well, we have the price set to meet them for one well that for that year,
Right.
and during that one well, they're gonna see the changes. They're gonna experience it and know how much more effective it is.
Right. Okay, that's good to know. So I'll definitely use that information. And then potential for analysis by paralysis. So some users cautions having too many possible scenarios can lead to overanalyzing. So I mean that's going to come up. I don't think I'll see that very often, but yeah. So. And then industry outlook, some of the things, increasing adoption, more companies are using geosteering software. Like I said, I think it's there is still, when we look at the market, there's still a market that they aren't using it. So I think ideally, especially with your day charge and your less money for a year subscription, I think that's an ideal market to go through. I think that's probably where we have the highest probability of conversion. And I think the Star Steer guys, there might be guys using Star Steer but they would rather have pay less or have a day rate, right? So so that's something that we want to keep in mind on that side of it. So but that's good. Live data integration, making geosteering more proactive, allowing real-time well adjustments. I think the live data side of it, you're cloud based, is something that obviously we want to just keep really pushing to the forefront.
Yeah.
And then here company, and then this was just the feedback of the users. Companies drilling multiple wells see significant benefits for using geosteering software, while those drilling a few wells per year may not find it as necessary. So that's really where my the next campaign is going to be smaller operators, and I got to just get my verbiage down around this, addressing this objection early, right? And I think your day rates, like, are you guys comfortable? As a management team, you guys have to talk about it a little bit. But if I target these smaller operators, the day rate thing is probably one of the key features slash benefits that we want to push, and I just want to make sure you guys are comfortable that I leverage that,
Oh yeah,
right?
for sure.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
can. That's definitely negotiable.
right,
And with our day rates, that's something that we have, but we also cater to the clients themselves
right,
to see what their budgets are, and we work with them
right,
to, especially if they've never used this, we'll definitely work with them in the beginning to just to show them the powers of having a software such as this, and then we can definitely in the future come back to the price again. But in the beginning, we definitely want to give them a good price point for them to use it, just to see the advantages of it on one well or two well that they have. So we work with clients in terms of pricing. We're definitely open to working with clients,
right.
especially small operators.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good. And then I use this spin selling, which I've talked a little bit about, which is situation, problem, implication, need, payoff. And I'll send this guys out to. So I'm always asking, ChatGPT to kind of interpret that for me. So they give me out of the data some examples of situational questions, and then some of the things. Hey, Golf Tech was one of the customers, and we've got a team, so it tells me I'm not targeting the right guy. We did use geosteering previous roles, both Star Sears and SCS. So just what does the competitive analysis looks like? So we're going to see a lot of that situational questions and on that. And then we look at problem questions. Do geosteers also make mistakes in interpretation? And absolutely. So some people might push that back. As a problem, might throw that out as a problem. Some companies are still reluctant to use geosteering software even when the budget is not a concern.
When it comes to the interpretation of making errors, we also provide training.
Right, right. Okay,
So yeah, that's one other thing. If they ever say that, we provide training to ensure that they know how to interpret data well, and they know how to use the software and make the better decisions. So with if they do decide to take a license or whatever, we do provide them with enough training where they're in the field, they're confident enough to actually use it and confident in their interpretations.
right. On that side of it. Okay. And let me just go look at implications. So that the model, like the spin selling, the concept behind it is, hey, you ask situational questions. Are you using geosteering? Are you not? Right. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's a pretty standard one. Problem. Are you slipping? Are you not? Right. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's situational. If you're slipping, is it costing you money? Is it increasing how many more days you have the drilling rig out there? Whatever the problem are, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the problem. And then, well, did you have to keep the rig out there longer? And then ultimately, the implication, it cost me more money, right?
Yeah.
And then the concept of it is the more implication questions that we ask, the closer we are to the value proposition, the closer we are to closing more deals, right? So,
Yeah.
so the Chat GPT's interpretation, and I'll go over this myself, but sticking to the plan often, implications. So this was kind of like guys not using geosawing software, and they said, hey, they just, they were just drilling, and then it caused unexpected dip and formation, and this wasn't development geologists and mapped, seismic showed. So, those are the issues that they're having. So we talked about the implication of it. Not using steering software means companies may drill inefficiently and leave better drilling intervals untapped. And that's a production thing. So, what is the production? So when we look at it, did it cost you more money on your drilling program? Did it cost you production? Right? Those are kind of
Yeah.
the problems, and then the implication of that. I didn't make as much money on my ROI. It cost me more money to drill than I thought it was going to be. Right? So,
Yeah.
let me see. Smaller companies may be competitive. So yeah. So I'll send this out. I'm going to refresh it once I get all the data in there, and then ultimately between this and I'm just going to stop the video here. Stop recording. Is that